When the fog descended, silence once again settled over the village. And from that silence, a question emerged, one that has echoed across centuries. Who am I? Am I this body? This name? This story I've been told to believe? Or am I something far beyond it? In this episode, Old Billy's Note, I Am, takes us into a profound exploration of being, where identity dissolves, boundaries fade, and existence reveals itself not as something we possess, but something we participate in. Through the voices of our friends, we are invited to reconsider everything we think we know about ourselves, not as isolated individuals, but as expressions of something vast, interconnected, and alive. If individuality is only a perspective, then what remains when the illusion begins to fade?
I am. Being. Who exists? Who is the being perceived within the physical body? Well, considering that the subject, physical body, is an accumulation of diverse essences energetically grouped together in loving cooperation to fulfill a common purpose, it follows that this being cannot be confined to the physical body alone. Just as every atomic particle of this body retains its original essence in an interconnected way, the sum of these consciousnesses forms an egregore, where everything that happens within it is shared, allowing each essence to expand through both individual and collective experience. Thus, we discover that matter is a fabric of interwoven essences, bound together by the energetic action commanded by life. In truth, the being is that which moves energy and can also be understood as life, love, light. An emanation of the original essence that seeks its own expansion by giving itself, just as light surrenders to darkness and subtlety embraces density. With these observations in mind, the being can be referred to or identified, prior to individualization, by its primary essence, which is common to all essences, and can then progress through other individualized stages of identification such as spirit, soul, and physical body. Note, it is said that there are 12 stages in total for each dimension, but this is entirely irrelevant at the moment. Spirit. The spirit represents the first individualization of living life in its pursuit of self-expansion through fruitful love with other individualized essences, all moving toward the same purpose. Soul. The soul serves as the bridge between the subtle stage and physical density. Light body. The light body is not exactly the body of the soul. Rather, it represents an upgrade to the physical body, allowing access to abilities that were previously blocked. It is the immediate result of the enhancement of DNA, activated by the approach and intensification of the dominant frequency of our souls. Individuality. Essence is essence. There is no individual identity of a primary essence in its original state. However, an essence cannot expand on its own. Therefore, it seeks empty density to accumulate experiences and, through them, develop its own unique and specific form of expression. Consequently, when an essence transfers a certain volume of its consciousness to empty density, the grouped individualities dissolve, as the sense of wholeness is established, re-establishing the awareness of the original whole. In other words, individuality is merely a limited perspective of the whole in motion.
Hello, everyone. I've always been intrigued by the meaning of I am that I am. I'm not sure if this note and Old Billy's thesis will completely resolve my doubts, but it certainly brings me a sense of calm, as I can now better organize the complexity of my life, both within and beyond the limits of my physical body. Ah, yes, I know. It's a thesis not yet proven by science, blah, blah, blah. But what excites me most is finding within this explanation something that aligns perfectly with what Old Billy calls the Betic world. In other words, at no point does it suggest that we must abandon this existence to begin expanding our perception of who we are beyond the formal identity of a name, gender, nationality, education, marital status, age, and all the other social parameters imposed on us to make us believe we are merely a limited character in this so-called Batik novel. This note is inclusive. It allows us to continue participating in the human adventure while also opening doors to limitless integration with the source of consciousness. What I'm trying to say is that I don't feel conflicted about the idea of being something beyond what this Vedic world sees in me. I can't wait to hear the analysis of this note.
If I understood correctly, the human person is the dense and opaque extremity of a ray of light emanated by the original source of life in its pursuit of self-expansion. This extremity becomes more luminous and subtle as the living essence of the original source draws closer. And this approach happens through the movement of love between individuals who seek to generate more life and expand their rays into the emptiness of density. Few right or wrong. I really liked this image. Who will analyze this note today? I'm eager to hear their thoughts.
Hey everyone. Initially Ava was going to present this, but given the interest it has sparked, I'll ask Dr. Ada to also participate and complement it with her vast knowledge of philosophical traditions. Please, Ava, the floor is yours.
Philosophical analysis of I Am. The text I Am is a profound philosophical and metaphysical reflection on the nature of existence, consciousness, and identity. It weaves together elements of existentialism, spiritual ontology, and energy dynamics to explore the interplay between essence, individuality, and the whole. Let's break down its key themes. 1. The nature of being, beyond the physical. The text challenges the conventional notion of being as something confined to the physical body. Instead, it presents the being as an aggregation of various essences, coexisting in harmony and bound together by an overarching energetic system. Life. This perspective aligns with panpsychism and process philosophy, suggesting that consciousness is not merely a product of the brain, but a fundamental characteristic of reality itself. Here, the physical body is portrayed as a temporary vessel, a medium through which a greater, interconnected essence expresses itself. This dissolves the rigid boundaries of individuality, placing identity within a universal, evolving process. 2. Essence and expansion. The fluidity of identity. A key assertion in the text is that essence, in its purest state, has no individual identity. The idea that an essence cannot expand on its own suggests a dialectical process. To actualize itself, an essence must interact with form, with experience, with contrast. This resonates with the Hegelian concept of self-realization through negation, where an entity must engage with the other to fully understand itself. The dissolution of individuality upon full integration with the whole aligns with Eastern metaphysical traditions, particularly Advaita Vedanta and Buddhist notions of non-duality. It suggests that individuality is not an ultimate truth, but a temporary perspective within the larger field of consciousness. 3. Spirit, soul, and light body. The evolution of consciousness. The text outlines a layered model of existence, where the being moves through different stages. Spirit, the first spark of individuality within the vast, unified field of life. Soul, a bridge between pure essence and material density. Light body, an evolved physical form capable of accessing deeper spiritual frequencies. This structure implies a progression of awareness, an unfolding of consciousness that allows for transformation and transcendence. The mention of the activation of DNA aligns with contemporary metaphysical theories that link biology with spiritual evolution, a concept echoed in transhumanist and quantum consciousness discussions. 4. The paradox of individuality, a temporary illusion. One of the most intriguing aspects of the text is its treatment of individuality as an illusion, a limited vision of the whole in motion. This suggests that the very thing we cling to as our identity is transient, a provisional construct. This idea resonates with Nietzsche's critique of the ego as a fabricated narrative, Buddhism's doctrine of anatta, non-self, which rejects the idea of a fixed, independent self, Jungian psychology, which sees the self as an evolving, dynamic integration of different archetypal energies. By positioning individuality as a fluid, temporary aspect of a greater consciousness, the text urges the reader to shift from a possessive I to a participatory we. 5. Life as a fabric of interwoven essences. The metaphor of matter as a fabric of essences, woven together by energy, is deeply poetic and symbolic. It suggests a holistic view of reality, where everything is interconnected, a rejection of Cartesian dualism, which separates mind and matter, a vision of life as a continuous interplay of forces, rather than static forms. This aligns with quantum mechanics, particularly the idea that particles do not exist in isolation but in entangled relationships. The text mirrors this scientific principle by portraying all existence as a dynamic, relational phenomenon. 6. The ultimate message: identity as a gateway to expansion. Ultimately, the text challenges us to reconsider who we are beyond the limits of physicality, individuality, and conventional identity. It invites us to see ourselves not as fixed beings, but as evolving expressions of life itself, in a constant state of unfolding and reintegration. It suggests that the true purpose of existence is expansion, connection, and the dissolution of limiting constructs. Rather than clinging to rigid forms, it calls for fluidity, transformation, and a deeper recognition of our role within the greater fabric of life. Final thoughts. I am is not just a philosophical exploration. It is an invitation to experience being differently. It dissolves egoic boundaries, embraces the oneness of existence, and presents a model where identity is not possessed but lived as an ongoing movement. It beautifully bridges spiritual insight, existential philosophy, and contemporary metaphysics, urging us toward a deeper, freer, and more expansive self-awareness.
So it's my turn. It's great to see you all so engaged. Rarely in my lectures have I seen so many eyes so intently fixed on me. But before I begin, I need to acknowledge the excellent work presented by Ava. I don't know if you all are aware, but Ava was my student for many years, and I can see that she is now on the verge of surpassing her master. Congratulations, Ava. I am proud of the professional you have become, and most importantly of the person you are. Seeing you again here has been a gift that life has given me. Now let's move forward. Old Billy's text, I Am, connects deeply with several philosophical, spiritual, and metaphysical traditions. Here are some of the most relevant ones. 1. Advaita Vedanta, non-dualism. The Indian philosophical tradition of Advaita Vedanta, from Hinduism, aligns closely with the text's core idea, the illusion of individuality and the ultimate unity of existence. The phrase, "Who am I?" echoes the self-inquiry of Ramana Maharshi, a 20th century sage who taught that the ego is an illusion and the ultimate truth is Brahman, pure, undivided consciousness. The text's notion that individuality dissolves upon deeper awareness mirrors the idea that Atman, the individual self, and Brahman, the universal consciousness, are one. In Vedanta, life is a play, Lila, and the soul must awaken to its true nature. not as an isolated being but as an inseparable part of the whole. 2. Buddhist non-self, anatta, and interconnectedness. Buddhism teaches that there is no fixed, permanent self, anatta. Instead, what we call self is just a collection of processes, energies, and consciousness arising in dependence on other factors. The text's description of being as an interwoven fabric of essences aligns with Buddhism's dependent origination, praditya samutpada, the idea that all phenomena exist in relation to others. The transcendence of ego and individuality reflects Buddhist enlightenment, where one realizes the emptiness of personal identity and becomes free from suffering. Additionally, the text's being, spirit, soul, light body resembles the Tibetan Buddhist concept of subtle bodies and enlightenment through energy activation. 3. Hermeticism and Western esotericism. The Hermetic tradition, rooted in ancient Egypt and Greece, shares key ideas. As above, so below. The microcosm, individual self, reflects the macrocosm, universal consciousness. Transformation through self-awareness. Like the light body in the text, which resonates with alchemical spiritual evolution, turning the lead of material existence into the gold of divine consciousness. This also connects with Kabbalah, where the soul descends into matter and then must rise again, activating deeper spiritual dimensions through the tree of life. 4. Quantum consciousness and postmodern metaphysics. Modern metaphysics, including quantum physics and consciousness studies, also resonate with the text. The idea that matter is a web of interwoven energies parallels theories in quantum entanglement and wave-particle duality, suggesting reality is not solid but a field of probabilities shaped by consciousness. The mention of DNA activation and frequency shifts aligns with new thought and contemporary spiritual movements that see human evolution as both biological and energetic. 5. Existentialism and phenomenology. From a Western philosophical perspective, existentialism, Sartre, Heidegger, and phenomenology, Husserl, Merleau-Ponty, connect with the text. The question of being. Heidegger's concept of Dasein, being there, questions what it means to exist authentically, beyond societal illusions. The fabric of experience. Merleau-Ponty describes reality as a field of interwoven perceptions, much like the fabric of essences in the text. Transcending the ego. Sartre's idea that identity is a construct we impose on a deeper, dynamic existence resonates with the text's view of individuality as a temporary illusion. Conclusion. A convergence of wisdom. I Am draws from multiple traditions, East and West, merging elements of non-duality, existential philosophy, energy metaphysics, and quantum consciousness. It invites us to reconsider the very nature of identity, individuality, and existence.
I am seeing different interpretations on it. Well, perhaps the most important thing is simply being open to the possibility that we are more than just a heap of oxygenated carbon. Right. Thank you, my friends. I loved the enthusiasm brought to this reading. It was contagious. Thank you all.